This video is pretty funny because we're talking about spherical excess and Zanik and Rumpus flip flop back and forth, and in the end, just admit they were wrong. So this is like a disaster for spherical excess.
Line of sight, if you've got three straight lines joining 3 points, then that's going to sum to 180. But
is Rumpus saying if we have 3 points line of sight on a curved surface, it'll be more than 180?
yes,
Oh my God, Rumpus,
that's
so
what
dumb.
spherical excess is. Jesus. Yeah, Zanik, if you have three straight lines forming this triangle, even if they're at different altitudes, it doesn't matter. If there's three straight lines between the points, then that must form 180 degrees.
You got a mountain at 6,000 feet, when it's 2,000 feet, when it's 1,000 feet. That's some pretty substantial. There's a big angles differences there. And if we measure that triangle between those 3 points at different elevations above the surface, there will be spherical excess. And Rumpus will absolutely agree with me. And that's how it's done.
Think about it is they're all sitting at the same elevation. That then we can eliminate a lot of the extra geometry and just focus on that. If they're all say you've got 1,000-foot pole, so you can see something 60 miles away. So you've got 1,000-foot plumb bob. You're at the top of each one. They're all three of them 1,000 feet high, and then you measure the azimuth direction between all three of them. Add up the azimuths of all three vertices of the triangle. They will add up to more than 180 if you're on a sphere. They'll be exactly 180 if you're on a plane.
Oh, Rumpus, I'm sad now because now we're in disagreement. Let me go over this real quick. I'm not going to go over it. Say real quick. You already told me that if you're different altitudes, then you would actually have this one single triangle. If you use all those points, remember, we're not taking tape measures along the surface. We're actually shooting a laser or a tight.
It took me and Jeremy like 2 hours to finally just teach these boys the principles that line of sight you'll always get 180 degrees. This is pretty funny.
Spring between all three of those plumb one single triangle. If you use all those points, remember, we're not taking tape measures along the surface. We're actually shooting a laser or a tight spring between all three of those
No, you don't need a laser. You just need to measure the angle.
Hold on. Let me finish real quick because I want to hear your response. I really do. Right. So we got three lines to those 3 poles, and they're all plumb. Means they're angled away. I'm saying
doesn't matter.
Well, I know you're saying that, but think about it for a second.
Their line of sight, dipshit. They got to be 180. Their line of sight.
Hey, we're not talking about the surface. We're talking about plumb lines dropped from 1,000 feet over 3 points over the sphere. If we have line of sight, all those 1,000-foot points to each other, that will form a perfect triangle. No excess. I like the silence, though, because I know people are thinking that.
So you heard Rumpus flip-flop, and now Zanik flip-flops and act like he was on that side the whole time, man. This gets better.
If you're looking from the top of one pole to another pole at the same altitude...
Yes. You see now? I mean, I'm not going to see, I told you.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
Hold on. Yes, I'm a dilemma now because you...
It's a common misconception, Rumpus. Just embrace it. I'm not going to rub your nose in it. It's just common. I made the same mistake.
Rumpus is now.
We're all set. If you have 3 line of sight, if you have 3 points and line of sight on all the points, you'll never get it more than 180, right, Rumpus?
I think Jeremy enlightened me a long time.
Jeremy, draw a triangle on a ball and
he still doesn't understand, Zanik.
What's that?
He still doesn't get it.
Rumpus, it's hard. It took me a long time to get it too.
No, it took 5 seconds to get. This is simple shit. What do you mean?
When we survey and lay shit out, the ground underneath doesn't fucking matter.
I got a point here. I got a point there.
Rumpus still thinks you're going to get more than 180 with these 3 line of sight points, dude. Are you going to fix this or no? I don't think you can.
I am. He's thinking. He's going to figure it out. Just don't rub his nose in it. It's kind of funny. Like I said, I'm not embarrassed to call him out because I made the same mistake.
I've been preaching it since y'all first brought that shit up. If we got line of sight, it's got to be 180.
Yeah, they tried doing this to me on Jose.
Well, no, that's not true either. Now, see, Brian is going off the reservation here. Brian, if we have line of sight on all 3 of those points, but all those plumb lines are different heights. So I'm at 1,000 feet. One's at 5,000 feet. The other's at 10,000 feet. The angles will not. No, it's all line of sight, all straight lines. The angles will add up to greater than 180.
Yeah, Zanik, if you have 3 straight lines forming this triangle, even if they're at different altitudes. It doesn't matter. If there's 3 straight lines between the points, then that must form 180 degrees.
Because you're one of the points. Like I said, if you're one of the observers,
I'm one of the points, and I'm looking at two other
it could be
points.
it could be Polaris in a antenna 50 miles away. It's going to always be 180 degrees if you're one of the observers to line of sight to 2 other points. It's going to be a coplanar triangle no matter how you tilt it, no matter how you turn it. If you have line of sight to 2 other points, quit naming 3 points. That's slick, in my opinion. You keep changing the example by sneaking in a 3rd point. I keep telling you, you're one of the observers. Okay, you're seeing 2 other points. The elevation doesn't matter. You're going to get a coplanar triangle no matter what way you tilt it or turn it.
No, so thank you for bringing Polaris. That's an extreme. I like always extreme examples. So you got Polaris as a point above the North Star, above the North Pole. That's a real far place to be. As long as your other 2 points are not the same height above the surface, this will work.
You think I'm going to draw a line to the North Pole?
Yeah,
Or to Polaris?
if they got line of sight and that line of sight is a straight line, then they must be coplanar. In which case it would be 180.
And I think Rumpus is 10 times smarter than you, Zanik.
If they're all straight lines, yeah.
Quit acting like you're teaching Rumpus anything, Zanik. He's 10 times smarter than you.
So Zanik's a bright lad. Don't slag him off. No, yeah, Zanik, if you have 3 straight lines forming this triangle, even if they're at different altitudes, it doesn't matter. If there's 3 straight lines between the points, then that must form 180 degrees.
I was just messing with Zanik too, man. I got to give y'all flack, man.
You're just teasing. Okay, yeah. Zanik didn't get too excited. So I think he took it in the spirit it was intended. So Zanik, if you've got a triangle, it doesn't matter what the altitudes are. If you've got a triangle in 3D space and there's a lot of straight lines joining the vertices, that's a coplanar triangle. Well, it's always going to be coplanar. Yeah, so a coplanar triangle, and those the sum must be 180 degrees. I think if you have a difference in altitude, but you have line of sight, it's 3 straight lines, then the sum must be 180 degrees because they're coplanar. The lines between the points. So I don't think I think you can have things at different altitude and still be 180 degrees. I don't think it's necessarily what you said.
Well, yeah, so Brian, that's right. So that's why we have to look at it a little even deeper. There's a different dissemination of the angles. So yeah, the triangles, all line of sight will always be at 180.
Yes, agreed. So I think we both learned something here, Zanik.
Yep, absolutely. That's why I like these discussions. They're always really fun.
Yes, yeah. So indeed, so my statement was only applicable to the non-line of sight condition. But yes, if you do the line of sight, then yes, then they do have to be 180. And indeed, even the case where there's different altitudes, because you've got line of sight. If you've got 3 straight lines joining 3 points, then that's going to sum to 180.